Hey everybody, Josh Lupresto, VP of Sales Engineering here for Telarus, part of our Engineering Deep Dive Season 2 for Race to the Summit. And today I'm joined with my good friend, SVP of Solutions Engineering for AireSpring, Mike Chase. Mike, welcome, man.
Thanks for having me.
So let's get into some background on the world's most interesting man here. So, Mike, tell us, for anybody that doesn't know you, give us a little bit of background on you, what you've done kind of historically leading up to this, and then your role now at AireSpring.
Sure. I worked for different enterprise companies, Wells Fargo, Experian, Broadcom. Learned a lot while I was at Broadcom. Worked for different cloud companies, owned a couple of cloud companies. So did that for a while. I had about 55 employees. I was hosting Bank of England, Morgan Stanley, a lot of large clients, and then sold that and started another one after that. But worked through cloud, which was a pretty amazing experience. And then eventually got into telecom and made my way here to AireSpring. And I actually love telecom. It's very interesting, a lot of different technologies.
And am, am
Um,
I am I correct too, by the way, Mike, that you have a law degree? Just throwing that out there. Fun fact.
Yeah, along the way, I picked up, I think I'm north of 30 certifications and a lot of degrees. So I did things like Cisco CCIE while I was at Broadcom, 7226 for route switch, which I think they're calling enterprise infrastructure now. So they've kind of recertified us under a new name. Did VMware, did 9 different storage systems, Linux, LPIC 3 certification, Microsoft. Really what happened was I didn't do it so much for ego. It's just there's a lot of things you come across and you have no idea how they work, and it's hard sometimes from other technical people to get the right answers. And so I just kind of got a habit of self-study, and then I figured, why not go take the test after I've had all the hands-on and the reading. And so it just kind of accumulated over time. Now the challenge is just trying to keep it all current. So I've been doing a lot of recertifications, that sort of thing. I've kept a lot of them current, but really it was kind of just born from curiosity, wanting to know how that works. And when you're in a data center at 3 in the morning, there's not a lot of people to ask. So you either do or do not. There's not a lot of try going on.
It's good stuff, man. So let's talk. Let's get into AirSpring.
Sure.
Let's talk about you guys. So talk to me about key differentiators amongst yourself and your competition in the marketplace. Right? What do you want people to be thinking of from a differentiation for AirSpring?
Absolutely. AirSpring is known for being a multi-location managed service provider and carrier aggregator. We can tackle any size project throughout the United States and now globally as well. I think our expertise sets us apart. We don't have great managers. We have great engineers and other experts in their field. That really resonates with customers who we talk to. They want to talk to the person, not a person. So you combine all of that expertise with 30 plus carriers and cable companies, a huge set of products around SD-WAN, LTE, fixed wireless voice, contact center, firewalls, MPLS, SIP, and a million different failover strategies that we offer. And you begin to see how we keep businesses moving forward throughout the United States, but now with numerous global offerings as well atop our global private network, or GPN as we call it.
It's good. Those are awesome product set. So let's take that a step further. Let's talk about taking all those products. Who does it fit for, right? Does it fit for any customer? Do you have a niche customer? Who's the right size, right? When partners are thinking about you guys.
All right, good question. We fit well with any customer who's multi-location and or multi-service. So what that basically means is they've got challenging projects rather, topologies, and is stretching their IT team pretty thin. AirSpring brings a lot of tools to the table. So when we're servicing mission critical applications such as SD-WAN, or it requires deep security, that's where we really have an expertise. We eliminate significant risk and instead let them focus on their business and what they do best. So AirSpring has a lot of certified engineers. I'm by far not the only one. A track record of thousands of successful implementations spanning numerous sites worldwide and mixed technologies, while providing a 24 by 7 by 365 knock and an escalation list that goes all the way up to our CEO. So at the end of the day, customers get a wide set of choices, affordable prices, certified engineers with tremendous expertise, and excellent customer service, and the knowledge that the buck stops with our CEO, so that even if a challenge arises, it gets taken care of.
Good stuff. So let's talk about integrations. Any integrations that you guys have that work great alongside other technologies? We want to help people understand that a little bit.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there's a lot of things we've sold for a long time. SIP is, probably one of the oldest products out there. But you look at some of the newer stuff like SD-WAN, And it really gets thrown in now with almost every product we've ever sold, and it dramatically changes and enhances how those operate. So, for example, with SIP, someone would come to us and they would usually get, two circuits. We would have to build two SIP trunks, for redundancy. So they have two circuits, two SIP trunks, two sets of IPs on those SIP trunks where they're terminating. Um, and when you would fail over, typically those calls would drop, and that's frustrating, particularly if you're a customer, because then you got to call back in. You don't always get the same agent, if it's a call center, this sort of thing. Now with SD-WAN, it's totally different. We can put as many circuits as we want into an SD-WAN box of any kind, any flavor. We can guarantee the voice, and we end up building, one SIP trunk with one IP address on it, and that means that SIP trunk never goes down. And when you fail over, it's totally transparent to everyone. So the customer calls don't drop inbound or outbound. They don't have to call back in. They're not frustrated. It really saves your business. But it's completely changed our, design playbook and everything else. And so now, we kind of think of it as Frank's Red Hot Sauce. We put that stuff on everything because you call in and you're like, oh, I want SIP, or I want hosted voice, or I want contact center seats. And we're kind of like, great, you need to guarantee the quality and the failover and all these aspects of it. Why not SD-WAN? And so I would say 9 times out of 10, they're going with SD-WAN. And that's why that product line over the last 3 years for us has literally shot up to number one, where it's just growing and growing at tremendous volumes. I mean, north of, I think, almost 300% these days, year over year, and continues onward. So it really has made a difference.
Good. So talking about, obviously you've got the network, you've got the massive amount of voice volume that you guys do. We've talked about SD-WAN. It's a great security play within that portfolio. Who does and I know you mentioned the niche a little bit, but who do we target in that, right? Who does AireSpring want? Do we want SMB? Do we want mid-market? Do you want enterprise? How do you want to address that?
Right. Everyone defines SMBs, mid-market, enterprise a little differently. A better way to answer that question is that AireSpring does well with mid-market enterprise companies or event SMBs that have multi-locations and are not looking for a cheap cookie cutter solution. They often need, multiple services and can really benefit from a single source provider and one point of contact with white glove service. It's very important to them. Additionally, we treat every order like a project and provide free engineering review and design services, project management, and a managed services engineer. So they get a whole team, and that's why we do really well with multi-location projects, because we have a whole team, on that. So you're not dealing with, a lot of customers don't want to deal with this shipping and this and that. I mean, we take care of a lot of details.
Good. So let's talk about platforms. You guys have a lot of different platforms, and I mean, we've touched on the idea of some of the product sets that you have. But if you've got multiple platforms, talk to me about what these platforms are, where each of them fits, and then at the end, maybe we'll get into an example.
Sure. It's really interesting. Certain products like SIP are kind of a one-size-fits-all because they're a standard, right? I mean, SIP is a standard. So we've deployed those along, thousands of platforms, including most recently Microsoft Teams. With integrations, our SIP certified engineers definitely come in handy. But when you look at other products where no standards exist, such as SD-WAN, there's roughly 48 vendors in the market, then there's choices. And we offer VMware SD-WAN by VeloCloud, Fortinet, and Cisco Meraki. So here's where those fit. VMware SD-WAN by VeloCloud is the Gartner leader. It's the gold standard. And is what any customer that has a requirement for top of the line SD-WAN, mission critical SD-WAN should get. Fortinet is a good solution for smaller implementations. All right. Customers with requirements for basic SD-WAN functionality, including failover and redundancy, will do well on this product. It also is an excellent solution for customers that prefer a single piece of hardware for both security and SD-WAN and do not have mission critical SD-WAN needs. Right. Fortinet's also an excellent top-of-the-line standalone on-premise or network-based firewall, which can be used in conjunction with VMware SD-WAN by VeloCloud. So sometimes these products, mix together. VMware's got very high-end SD-WAN. Fortinet's got a very high-end firewall. The VeloCloud guys are, of course, trying to beef up their firewall. The Fortinet guys are trying to beef up their SD-WAN. Last but not least, you've got Cisco Meraki. So we've got these 3 offerings in there. Cisco Meraki is a good fit for high bandwidth yet affordable connectivity that includes basic SD-WAN and a basic non-filtering firewall that works primarily on IP reputation or defense. Those with Cisco shops are looking to escape, CLI or command line interface in favor of cloud managed networking, and without a need to interconnect to private networks like MPLS and others, or where voice is not top line critical, I'll enjoy that solution. So that's how those three kind of fit together, and those are the three that we're offering.
Good. Some good depth. You want to let's continue that conversation on to maybe an example, right? Pick any one of those that you've deployed or any combination of those that you've service chained together and talk to me about who, size wise, we don't have to talk names of the customer obviously, but size of that customer, maybe industry that they were in, and what were the problems that they had before, and then how did you guys make their life better?
Sure. So I'll use an example of a credit union that we deployed in Northern California. They're not huge, but they're not small either. They've got about 14 branches. And they're spread out throughout Northern California, which is a pretty mountainous region. And what the VP of IT told me at one point, he said, over the last five years, they always had a branch down, right? And that's very frustrating because you're trying to pull money out for your family on the weekend, go have some fun, and you can't because the branch is down. You got to drive to another branch, and that's usually 30 to 50 miles through the mountains. So that's not particularly easy either, and just to pull some money out. So when we first showed up, when we looked at their typical IT room, you would see like the MPLS circuit, you would see LTE, you would see some kind of cable company internet product. I mean, there's just a bunch of cables kind of hanging on the wall, and they were labeled. And I said, what's going on with that? And he'd say, well, we plug in whatever works that day, literally, right? And that was problematic because when the fires happen, and they're always happening, it seems, in Northern California, then the MPLS fiber that was coming through the mountains burned down. LTE towers sometimes became unavailable because they're in the middle of a fire zone as well, and they'll run on generator for so long once the power's cut, but then eventually they kind of conk out. The cable companies, a little more available, stuff's buried a little deeper in the ground, but the reality is that the quality is horrible when you're trying to do voice and a lot of other things. So we basically put in SD-WAN for these guys. A couple things happened. One, they were able to combine all of this connectivity, whether it was private fiber, MPLS, LTE, cable broadband internet, anything they could get their hands on, they could plug into the SD-WAN box, and they did. So we went from having kind of a bandwidth boneyard, if you will, to now a more comprehensive offering where everything plugged into the box. And then when they had to fail over between all of these, calls didn't drop, there was no impact to the business at all. And the quality of the voice communications and everything was improved to the level of MPLS, but being able to have the freedom to choose all these different circuits. And so since that happened, they have not had any outages whatsoever, and that's made their customers very happy. You also get some kind of crazy people running around in different places, and this is one of them, where they'll go in and literally intentionally damage telecom facilities. And so there's been times where the entire town is without internet, and people can't seem to quite figure out why the credit union is up. And so they'll invite people in, on a Saturday into their lobby, and give them cookies and let them just sit there in the lobby and use the internet. And it's pretty amazing. The whole town will be down, but the credit union is up, and it's because of our SD-WAN solution and all the different circuits that we can offer. And it's really kind of made a name for themselves. So we're very happy with that one. And we see that across the board. We're now seeing that with global customers. The cost savings, the uptime, it really goes through the roof.
Good. It's a really good example. Let's talk about, again, back to the differentiation here, right? So as partners come and watch these videos, if there are others that have similar product portfolios to what you guys have, what would you say, as partners are watching this from a technical perspective, right? What are the key differentiators amongst yourself, right? And you guys have been a long time great supplier of ours, but for partners maybe that haven't worked with you, why Airesprring over anybody else?
Sure, that's a good question. We offer a lot of value. I mean, this really comes from our owners on down. Airesprring is a privately held, debt-free carrier. I don't know a lot of carriers that can say that. And so I give a lot of credit to Avi, Daniel, and David who own the company. But Airesprring offers more free services with our SD-WAN solution than any other provider, including things like read-write access to our portal. Not only is the portal free, numerous competitors charge for it, but we also give you read-write access. You also get free DDoS mitigation services with Airesprring Gateway Access. So the gateways sit up in our data center, and when you're trying to access services that are either from Airesprring or beyond Airesprring, basically you're getting free DDoS mitigation. So an example of that is we have the ability to provide an Airesprring IP address, public internet IP address from our data centers to your location over SD-WAN and protect that IP with DDoS mitigation services from HTTP flood attacks, volumetric attacks, and bot orchestrated mischief. That's a huge benefit because DDoS protection is not cheap. Okay, and some of the attacks that happened 2 years ago were 1.2 terabits per second. No carrier has that kind of bandwidth on their own. So we have some, alliance partners that can handle that kind of a hit and deliver the clean traffic to your IP address. And that's tremendous value. And then in addition to that, we provide internet circuits and SD-WAN globally now, worldwide, via our, GPN or global private network. That network today spans Europe, North America, and Asia, and is constantly growing. We also offer flex licensing. This is very unique for us. A lot of people are selling VeloCloud, but they don't have flex licensing, meaning our SD-WAN box can route traffic without SD-WAN enhancement for free while using its SD-WAN magic on just the amount of traffic you need to license your voice, your application, whatever you want. Now, that's a huge cost savings when you have 1 gig fiber going between buildings, and that fiber doesn't need enhancement, nor do you want to pay a huge network tax just to get it there, right? So you can plug it into the box. We'll treat that traffic just like a Cisco router or something would and send it across the link, and you're not going to get charged for plugging it in. Everybody else sells the VeloCloud typically with a full license, and so you end up paying for a lot of stuff that frankly you're not even going to use. You don't need enhancement for that link. We also offer gateways, and this is really important. I think this is the number one reason to use a provider versus doing it yourself. You want to virtually cross-connect to over 1,500 destinations using SD-WAN and stay connected to those services no matter where you end up taking your SD-WAN box, down the street or even to the next country. Otherwise, a lot of people today are just connecting their offices with whatever SD-WAN solution, and those have limited or bolt-on connectivity that just doesn't provide end-to-end quality of service and quality of experience to things like cloud providers, colos, and SaaS providers. AireSpring can do all of that today. So we connect to 1,500 different destinations. Full mesh, so not only is, if you connect to Amazon or Azure or someone else, is it full mesh and direct link to all your offices to the cloud, but you can connect those clouds together, colos together, SaaS providers together, and also to each other. So you can have peering full mesh between all your clouds, all your colos, all your SaaS providers, and all your offices. That's a huge differentiator. So a lot of services there, and a lot of that stuff is free. The stuff that there's a fee involved, it's ridiculously affordable.
Good. Those are great differentiators. Awesome stuff. So as we're getting close to the end here, I want to wrap up. Maybe we covered this a little bit already in kind of that example, right, of how you've changed a business's life before and after. But if we go into kind of the anatomy of a deal, talk to me, since we've covered an example of that, talk to me about kind of timeline, right? As a partner has a deal and an opportunity, what is a little bit of that process? And, either give me that theoretically or one that you've gone through, timeframes, things like that.
You mean like how does the deal kind of flow?
Yeah.
Generally,
just
or
what happens, right? I'm a partner. I have a deal. What's an expected timeline and process that I can see from the AireSpring side?
it really depends on the size of the deal. I mean, we all know the really large deals take longer to close. But I think one thing we're really big on is educating our agents. We do monthly trainings. We have done our now SD-WAN boot camp. Over 600 people have graduated from that in the industry. They get a $150 Amazon card and a certificate saying they're sales certified for it. They learn a lot of stuff. It's 5 hours, so imagine me talking for 5 hours, right? But their ears are bleeding. But they've closed some huge deals. I mean, we've seen some north of 100K a month MRC SD-WAN deals, global deals. We've just deployed numerous units for various companies in places like China and Thailand and Germany and all over the world. So SD-WAN for us has now gone global, and I don't really know of any other carriers that are doing VeloCloud globally and so comprehensively with all of the free differentiators and other services and free access to portal and read write access and this sort of thing that we actually give customers. But typically the deal is agent finds an opportunity. And I think the biggest thing if you're an agent is you don't have to be an expert at all these different things. Just know that we're doing, internet circuits and SD-WAN globally. Know that SD-WAN can enhance things, both from a security standpoint as well as, voice and other quality situations. But find those opportunities. They bring them to us. We typically put a solutions engineer. I've got guys, in North America. I've got guys out of the country. And we look at the deal and say, okay, based on what are they trying to achieve? What can they afford? How much are they going to save over what they're currently doing now? Which when you start going international, I mean the average savings I would say on a deal here in the U.S. is 15 to 25, 30%. When you start going international, it's often 30, 40% or even higher, and that's pretty exciting. We're actually part of the story of numerous companies that in retail and other areas where they've had a tough time thanks to the pandemic, and they're now coming out and saying, hey, we're going to be able to cut our costs by 30-40%. And we're the reason why they're able to do that, frankly. And that's nice because some of these companies have 14 to 20,000 employees that are going to go back to work, and that makes us feel pretty good. But typically those deals get analyzed. We put together, particularly for the large deals, some kind of diagram, solution, quote, and then walk the customer through it. We have a lot of tools to do that. We have, the World of AireSpring videos. There's a splash page for that, tiny.cc/World of AireSpring if anybody's got a browser handy. We have, live engineers. We have demos. So we have a huge solutions engineering lab that we've built at our Los Angeles headquarters. We can show people things like, for example, voice over IP calls over satellite, or how to get a public internet IP address over SD-WAN that doesn't fail, even as they can watch us on a video pulling the cables out of the back of the SD-WAN box, and it's failing over, between all these different forms of connectivity. So I think for us, that's huge. Also, the ability to get with our top line executives, not just SVPs like myself, but also our CEO, our president, and chief revenue officer. Get with the Lonstein brothers, quite frankly.
Great stuff. Okay, let's talk future. Let's talk roadmap as we wrap this up. So, partners that are bringing some of these deals into the funnel right now, that are timing, maybe the next 3, let's say even 6 to 12 months out. What are things that you have cooking on the product roadmap, integrations, enhancements, things like that you want to share?
A lot of good stuff. I mean, recently we just, introduced Fortinet as our third offering in SD-WAN. SIP, we now integrate with Microsoft Teams. Microsoft, of course, bought our back-end platform for UCaaS, which was Metaswitch Network. So we look forward to even more integration with Microsoft Teams and other products. We'll continue to tweak our Fortinet line. That thing has a lot of bells and whistles, and Fortinet in general makes a ton of products. I mean, it's just amazing. Our security space will definitely grow. Security for us is a huge opportunity, and I think for our agents as well, because we realize that not only does it have to be affordable, but it has to be very robust. There's some significant risk out there if you don't have the right security, and you really need to focus on your business. So expect that, we'll continue to grow that. Some of these products have been free, which I think is just amazing. I mean, free DDoS mitigation services is huge. If you were to try to go, to Prolexic or some of these other companies that are out there, it's extremely expensive to protect yourself. And there's different levels you have to protect, meaning your network-based traffic, your website, your DNS servers. So we've got some pretty comprehensive offerings, but pretty much going international. There is a new website, AireSpringGlobal.com. So if you haven't seen that, everyone's seen AireSpring.com, go check out AireSpringGlobal.com, and that really kind of gives you the flavor of where we're heading, which is worldwide.
Cool. Good stuff. Okay, I think that takes us to the end. Mike, appreciate you being here with us today, man.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for being such a great partner. We love Telarus and your whole team we work very closely with, so thank you.
Awesome. Love it. Okay, everybody, that wraps up another series here, the Engineering Deep Dive to the Race to the Summit Season 2. Here with my good friend Mike Chase, SVP of Solutions Engineering for AireSpring. Mike, thanks so much, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. See you, partners.